Preacher is the latest AMC TV show to be based off of a comic book, the first one being The Walking Dead, and it stars Dominic Cooper, Ruth Negga, Joseph Gilgun, Jackie Earle Haley, Ian Colletti, Lucy Griffiths, and loads of other people. Very quickly, one thing I want to say before the review starts is that I am suffering from a cold, so if I don't sound like I usually do, then I apologise. I can't help getting ill. Before this show started, I really wanted to read the comic book. However, I never really found the time to do so. After watching the first few episodes of this show, however, I immediately bought the first book, and I can definitely say that even though this respects the source material, it's not an exact adaptation as you'd expect. If you're not quite sure what the premise for Preacher is, then I'll quickly describe it here. A preacher called Jesse Custer, who has a mysterious past, one day is inhabited by this weird entity that gives him the power of the Word of God, which means if he tells someone to go fuck themselves, they will literally do that. To begin with, he takes it as a blessing, but the more he uses it, the more he realises that it is actually a curse, and when his entire congregation dies during a church service, he realises that he has to find God and talk to him, and if needs be, kick his arse. Now, most of you will agree that that is a pretty amazing premise to base a TV show on. And they sort of do in this show, but they put a couple of twists on it that make it slightly different to the first book. In this adaptation, Jesse Custer still has a mysterious past, he still has the powers, and his congregation does end up dying. However, they do change a lot of things in the show that are not in the book to kind of give each character, especially Jesse and Tulip, a lot more depth and character building before the actual events of the comic book kick in. Which surprised me quite a bit, because seeing that I came into the comic book halfway through season 1 of the show, I was quite interested to see that the TV show actually plays out as more of a prequel to the comic book rather than being a straight up adaptation, because the last few scenes of the last episode are straight up the opening panels to the first book. Now let's talk about the things that I liked in this show. The acting all round is really, really good. Dominic Cooper does a really good job as Jesse Custer. To start with, the Texan accent does become a bit obvious, but after a while you get used to it and you realise that he's sticking with a certain persona for the whole show. Ian Colletti is also really good as Eugene Arseface. Yeah, I'm not joking, he literally has a face like an arsehole. However, he brings across this kind of likability to him, but he's also kind of annoying. He perfectly balances both aspects, and I think Cassidy perfectly describes the character in just a couple of words. He's so good, he's annoying. Lucy Griffiths I also thought was very good in the show. She plays this woman who, at first glance and for a long while in the show, she appears as this kind of teacher's pet, oh, I've never done anything wrong in my life kind of person. But towards the later episodes, she actually does some pretty fucked up stuff, and it just goes to show that no one in this series is as they seem. Everyone has their dark moments, and everyone who you think may be completely good will snap at some point. Also, the two British guys in this who play the angels, I only remember the names of one of the actors, Anatol Yusef, but I can't remember the other one. I thought they were really good as well. They kind of added awkward comic relief to the show, but they also felt necessary. If anything, they're two of the most necessary characters in the entire show. However, the two standout performances for me were definitely Ruth Negga as Tulip O'Hare and Joseph Gilgun as the vampire Cassidy. Ruth Negga doesn't take any shit as Tulip O'Hare. She could literally snap your hand backwards if she wanted to. And Cassidy is just one of the best characters in the entire show, and one of the best characters I've actually seen for a long time. He's funny, he appears stupid, but he's actually a lot cleverer than he appears, because he's been around for a long time, seeing that he's a vampire. And he's just one of the coolest characters in the whole show. Because, I mean, if you didn't think a Irish vampire was cool enough in the first place, the opening scene with him in it on a private jet in the very first episode should cement that. The direction I thought was very good as well. It's directed by the same people who did Breaking Bad, and especially in the later episodes, there are a lot of unique editing choices and cinematography choices that do seem a bit weird at first, but I do think they work for the overall style of the show, and also to lead to things later on in the show. Now, there was one element to this show that I was a bit hesitant about, and that is the fact that it is written by Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen, and because their films have a very particular, strongly emphasised comedic style to them, I didn't know whether their comedic style would be a bit too evident in this show. However, they pull back on it and only use their style of humour when necessary. If anything, they do concentrate on the dramatic points a lot more than the comedic ones, even though there are some really funny moments throughout the show. Also, finally, the action in this series is great. It's really brutal, it's intense, and like I said, that opening scene with Cassidy on a private jet is one of the best action scenes in the entire series, as well as a really funny and really well executed fight in a motel room with, which I'm not gonna spoil, but it's one of the best scenes in the series by far. In terms of flaws, I only have a couple. The pilot episode is amazing, but episodes 2, 3 and kind of 4 do feel very slow, they do drag quite a bit, and they don't progress the story whatsoever. However, from episode 5 onwards, the story kicks back into gear again and moves along at a very steady pace, and it is very enjoyable from then onwards. I had a lot of fun with Preacher Season 1. It's brutal, it's really funny in places, but it also knows when to hit the dramatic moments as well. And the first few episodes do take a while to get going, but from episode 5 onwards, it really is a blast, which is why I'm going to give Preacher Season 1 a 9 out of 10. If you like the comic, or if you just want to get into a good show, then I highly recommend Preacher. Also, one thing that I thought I would add to all of my TV show reviews for the coming future is a list of all the episodes and my individual ratings for those episodes. Unlike my usual reviews, they won't be rated out of 10, they will be rated a letter grading, like an A+ or a B. So this is what I thought of the episodes for Preacher Season 1. So guys, that was my look at Preacher. I'm definitely looking forward to Season 2, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed already, then I highly recommend you do, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!